Thanks for watching Guns and Watches. Today, I'm talking about addiction. When it's not DiGiorno, it's addiction. When your hobby becomes more than a hobby. Watch this guy on YouTube named Teddy Baldessar. I've never met somebody who was an ambassador for their industry better than this guy. Great dude. Uh, American success story. He loves fine wristwatches, loves horology. Oddly enough, I learned that that has nothing to do with OnlyFans. Horology is Horology, comes from the god Horus, god of time, and it's the study of time, the science of time. Teddy is great, knows everything from the finest watches to the common watches, the entire thing, macro and microeconomics, the entire industry of the watch industry. He's used that knowledge to build himself million followers on YouTube or millions of hits. I don't know if he has a million followers or not. And he has a boutique in Ohio. Great success story, and I'd recommend watching him. Usually weaves in life advice, accidentally great life advice with his videos, which I don't know if he's doing it on person or not, on purpose or not. But there's a reason this guy is so popular, and that's because he puts out good content, very down to earth, very common sense. And here comes the but. If you heard it coming, but he said something in a recent video that I maybe raised an eyebrow. He was talking about collecting watches, and he said something, I'm paraphrasing, that you're never going to be done. As you're never going to be done, that you're never going to actually get to that nirvana point. You're never going to get to content. My friends, that's not a hobby. That's an addiction. And now we Americans, I came up on this on guns a lot more than watches. A lot. I satisfied the bug on watches pretty fast, mostly because I found out that made in Japan and made in Switzerland only mean mostly made in Japan and mostly made in, like Richard Lewis and Princess Bride. Only he's mostly dead. He's not really dead. He's just mostly dead, right? That's when I figured out that these watches, that if you want one that's actually made in Switzerland, you have to pay an enormous amount of money, and I'm not about that. Made in Japan, a lot easier threshold, but you also have to be careful with Seiko and with Citizen for sure, but definitely a little bit with Seiko, that sometimes their case and the cases aren't made in Japan, or if they're made at different factories in Japan, which I'm completely cool with. That makes sense. Gun industry is a completely different world when it comes to country of origin. Country of origin is a bragging right, and you see a piece of aluminum goes into a Smith and Wesson factory and comes out a pistol. Whole thing happens under one roof and comes to market. Smith and Wesson M&P probably runs about $500 to $600 right now in the USA, 100% made in the USA. So y'all tell me we can't make stuff in the USA. You're full of it, because Keltec can make a gun in the United States and bring it to market for under $300. So uh, we can make stuff here. We just choose not to. But that's a tangent. Back to my addiction thing. I had the addiction. After 9/11, I bought that Mossberg 590 you see at the top of the screen. And I realized very quickly that people talk about shotgun being the best thing for home defense. Absolutely untrue. Untrue. I will talk about that in the Mossberg video. Do not buy a, a 12 gauge pump action shotgun to defend your house. Just go straight to the handgun. Most of the people who tell you to buy that shotgun are not using a shotgun to defend their house at all. Okay. But then I realized I needed some pistols. I needed some, because after 9/11, my wife was not going to let me go back in the military to go jack up some jihadis. So what do? You buy hardware, practice for the war that's going to come home. Praise God, it never did. And so I got the bug. I was buying stuff, reading the magazines, bought a bunch of holsters, spent an enormous amount of money. Part of that history is why I decided to make this channel, because I spent way more money than you should to get the right stuff. If you listen to this channel, then you're going to find out how to get the right stuff. Now, you might have a different opinion and you might have a different path, but at least you'll know what normal is. What should you be spending on a holster? How much time should you really be spending at a range? What's a real self-defense pistol versus these absolute comical Fortnite inspired video game things that people are trying to wear today? That's what the purpose of the channel is. The other reason that I feel qualified to do this is because I had a friend who got addicted to buying guns, and he did it right before my eyes. I used to have a tradition to take all our black guns out to this run range on the 4th of July and just act like we were storming a beach. Just black rifles, black pistols, and some people bringing tracer rounds, some people hitting the thermite. We take these Granger catalogs and tape them up and throw them out 50 yards and make them dance. And we were just having a good old time. I invited this guy. He brought an old Walther, an old 1911, and an old AR-15. And I helped him with the guns because he thought his guns were faulty, but his guns were not faulty at all. He had ancient magazines. He just needed to do some maintenance on the magazines, get some new magazines, and he was back and right as rain. And I was bullseyeing at 25 yards with his guns because I'm a good shot, because I trained up for the jihad, right? The jihad coming to the shores means that you're going to have to be able to pull your pistol and hit a terrorist in a very small area very fast. Otherwise, they can blow themselves up at the 7-Eleven. Praise God, none of that ever happened, but that was my motivating factor for getting into this. So I'm a pretty darn good shot with a handgun. And he then started buying every handgun that one YouTuber was portraying, and all of them. And he bought a ton of CZ stuff. He bought a ton of IWI, which is Desert Eagle, if you don't know, it's an Israeli company. Carbines, AR pistols, which there is no such thing. It's not an AR pistol. I don't even know why we say some of the dumbest stuff in the gun industry. But these short barreled ARs, regular ARs, lots of Glocks. Actually, he bought a few Glocks and then sold them off because you either like Glock or you don't. And he just kept putting all these fine weapons in my hand. A tuned CZ Shadow, a tuned Beretta 92. These are ones that came from special places. It cost $2,000 or $3,000, and he just got by everything. He had a safe that you could put. You could set a bunch of little girls could have a tea set inside the safe. It wasn't a safe; it was a room. Ammunition out the wazoo, and I had a good time. And I got to shoot a lot of fine guns. And I told him, I said, dude, you're never going to get good doing this. You buy a gun, you shoot it once, you put it on the shelf. You buy another gun, you're good, but you got a problem. You got an addiction, right? He was not, and I said, you want to get good at shooting? Pick any one of these guns as I'm waving at this imaginary table in front of me. Pick any one of these fine weapons that he had. CZ, a lot of CZ. I said, just pick one of these CZs and go put 3,000 rounds through it with both hands. Right-handed, left-handed, two-handed. We're standing down on your knee, right? Do it the old school military way, not what they do today, people keep pushing these guns in front of them like they're holding a dirty sock or something. I don't know what this new grip is all about, but the point is to get good with one gun and get really good with one gun. I said, that's why I'm able to pick up all these guns and go, because after a couple of shots, I know how it hits. So then I can compensate on the fly and hit bullseye with your weapons. And he was fully addicted. He couldn't stop. Now, my man Teddy, if you're addicted, you probably want to keep doing it because it's made you wealthy enough to have that store in Ohio. But for regular people, if you're buying 3, 4, 5 wristwatches a year, and you're buying all these guns a year, and you probably got a hobby with dirt bikes and the quads and the cars, make sure that you aren't an addict. It's a dopamine hit. I read these gun magazines, and I'm still raising an eyebrow. But then when I go into the gun store today and I pick them up, I realize, and this is going to shock some people if anybody even listens to this stuff, they're all the same flipping gun. They all come apart the same. They all go together the same. They got the polymer frame, steel slide, double stack magazine, 9mm. Everybody's carrying striker guns today anyway, right? It's all the same gun. You're not really changing much. AR-15s are exactly the same gun. My sister was completely floored when she bought her SIG M400 that I could take the firing pin out of my Smith & Wesson and put it in her gun. She's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, these guns are all the same exact gun." If you have more than one AR-15, hopefully it's because you have more than one shooter in your house. The reason I have an AR-15 is because I have ladies in the house. And the AK you see on the screen there is much better rifle, much more powerful rifle, but my ladies can't handle it. So I got an AR-15 so that my women had something to shoot. And if you think I'm calling the AR-15 girly, you heard correctly. It doesn't recoil. It's very soft shooting, easy to operate, collapsible stock. So it's great for the ladies and great to give them something. And we needed it because during the BLM riots, there were actual physical riots going on in the United States. So that's when I went out and bought that AR-15 and took my girls to the range and showed them how to use it and showed them how to manipulate it. And we keep it around in case, God forbid, uh, the marauders come around to our house. But have a reason for your guns. I mean, having a lot of guns is fun, and I'm totally for that. America, have it, but don't let it take over your life, especially the wristwatches. I mean, how many wristwatches do you have to buy before you realize that you only have one left wrist? Okay, there's one guy named Mark wears two watches when he does videos. He was one wrist on the other. There's that rich Canadian guy who does it too. Boy, is that lame, right? Find a watch you like and wear it. Find a really nice watch you like for going out and wear it. But if you got a box of watches like a woman has jewelry, you got to figure out why you got that, right? Now, if you got the money to do it, great. But make sure the stuff is not taking over your life. Make sure that you're not living for it, that you're not dreaming about it. Because what's more important to you should be your wife, your kids, their college, your house, vacations, your grandparents, going to see your parents. This is what's actually more important than having these material things. And Teddy, hopefully you misspoke, or maybe it was a marketing thing to keep people buying watches from your website. But guys, if you're really into the guns to the point that it's messing you up, take a break. Find something else to obsess about. Look up from your desk, look up from your computer screen, look up from your phone because your kids are probably missing you.